Of course, another advantage of the open access all electronic model is that it's then easily possible to incorporate not only figures and tables but also non-traditional forms of data and illustration, for example video clips or other forms of information, and to be able to cross-link dynamically to, for example, data repositories. And this gives a very powerful additional value to the active researcher. And I expect that as the model and as the journal develops, people will come to expect this broader way of publishing. Already when you go to conferences, many people now have video clips embedded or animations embedded into their PowerPoint presentations. And of course, at some level, a PowerPoint presentation will make it into a journal publication. And it would be a pity to lose that option to be able to show animation, to be able to show videos, to be able to show simulation as a function of time. And that is all in principle possible, provided you do not need a paper backup on a library shelf. So now let's look at the open access archives, which are not peer-reviewed, and to examine why, in my view, this is not adequate for research. For the day-to-day research, then it's perfectly acceptable. You know, the young postdoc sits there, a new paper comes up, he downloads it from the archive, reads it, and has access, and that provides everything that he needs. And if it turns out the paper is nonsense, well, he's smart enough to find that out for himself. What concerns me, and has concerned me since I started looking at this 10 years ago, is the historical archive as it builds up. That one of the functions of libraries, and in the open access world, libraries are still needed. One of the functions of libraries is to provide the historical record, the defined version of the paper. And the problem with open archives is that you can never be actually sure that the version of the paper that you're looking at was the one that you was referred to sometime previously. And so there is a need for the kite mark. And the kite mark can either be provided by a publisher of repute or by one of the academic institutes. So that seems to me to be a very important function, which we must maintain. The other thing is that's very important if you're to look at a long-term question, because some papers, they're published today, they attract very little attention, and then 15, 20, 30 years hence, its significance is realized. And you have to have a system whereby at whatever time the significance of that paper is realized, you can have access to it. And that means the long-term curation of the information. And I believe the other role of the publisher, be it commercial or academic, learned societies, is to preserve the archive through the ages. The open access free deposit archives do not, in my view, always have a viable business model. So one of the other things which impressed me about PMC Physics A is that it has behind it a sustainable business model. It may not be that, it may be there's always a risk that you don't sustain it, but there is a business model in place which will allow it, provided we are successful, to both do the peer reviewing which guarantees the integrity of the data of the articles as they are today, but also guarantees their curation for the long term. And that's, I think, absolutely vital. The most important thing about the reputation of a journal is the quality of the papers that are published in it. And that is the property not of the publisher, but of the author. So that if we want to make PMC Physics A journal of quality, it's in our hands. If you publish good papers in there, it will become a journal, the journal of record. And I would encourage anybody who wishes to signal that they would like their data, their information, their research to be made freely available to all those who can benefit from it, then I would urge them to publish in an open access journal, and I would ask them to consider very seriously publishing in PMC Physics A, because it is a genuinely open access journal which will make the information available to all who need it free of charge.